Meet yourself so you can heal yourself. Heal yourself so you can love yourself. And love yourself so you can feel like yourself. Vulnerability requires a safe place to land. Welcome to the Compassionate Holistic. And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Compassionate Holistic. I'm Wendy, your host, and your guide and partner, I will say, because this is a two-way street. You're on my journey, I'm on yours as well. And I will say, I hope that if you are having a bit of a low day, that you do give yourself that space of patience and self-compassion because you deserve it. And that reason is enough alone for me. So, today we're going to be discussing nutrition, and the title of the episode, Nourishing Me, is chosen because I want to get right to the core of everything when it comes to what we feed our bodies with. And that core that we're supposed to be focusing on is nourishment as opposed to tastes, right? We are definitely smothered with addicting tastes. And to nourish, I did go and dig out the definition, as you know, I like to do, just to be accurate. So, to nourish means to sustain with food or a nutriment, supply with what is necessary for life, health, and growth. And also, they have added there to strengthen, build up, or promote. So, sounds really inspiring, right? And it's being nourished that gives us the optimal feeling of satisfaction. Stuffed, quote unquote, stuffed as satisfied is fake news. I'm here to tell you it's simply a habit that formed over time, something for our brains, our neuroplastic brains, to integrate as true. So, these words that I've used, strengthen, build up, promote, and no indication for damage or cause for dis-ease, right? And like I said, we find ourselves smothered with these addicting tastes. And they're all from chemicals brought together to form the perfect combination for repetitive craving, I'll say. Money driven. I'll try to digress on those, on that side of things, because I really want to just get to you and what is best for you when it comes to living and feeling really your optimal self. So, is it our fault that we indulge sometimes overly? Well, let me put it this way. It is our action that makes it happen when it does, right? Obviously. But they being corporate webs of interest and not our interests, have given us both problems and solutions for our lives. So, first, we get totally unreal expectations to live out perfection and abiding by these unreal standards. And then, of course, we have to rush and be concerned all the time. And then they, again, hand us this relief in consumption. The more crazier, of course, then the expectations get in the world for us, the more we turn to this consumption I'm talking about, like a refuge or like a safe place from chaotic demand. So, although it is our responsibility to discern the importance of our health, this world makes it very difficult to say the very, very least. And there you go. Another great reason to meet and love ourselves. So, you have a protective layer, right, between you and all the noise. That is always, always the basis for lasting health. And I will stick with that for sure for the rest of my life. So it comes down to it's not entirely our onus, as I did what I did to survive mentally, but now we can take charge and feed ourselves as we so very much deserve. We need to take our power back. And I will confirm with you now that I am a cheerleader for non-realistic restriction. In other words, we are still here to experience some of those delicious, real, I will say, though, I'm just going to put that in there, foods. But we can learn to do that, like I said, in a healthy and conscious way, because let me tell you, there is a healthy stand, like a stand in, like a, in place of a replacement for pretty much everything these days. And besides that, I wouldn't recommend beating yourself up also for a takeout once a week, because that as well falls under this militant restriction that we're expected to do to ourselves. And the key to sticking to the once a week self agreement is holding high, high compassion for ourselves. And in addition, I will say that once we move from the unhealthy to the healthy, and compassion and patience intact, then we don't really want to go back to anything that was hurting us internally. And the stuff then tends to taste different. It's less attractive. It causes belly symptoms because the microbiome has conformed to the new, healthier lifestyle over time. It's just getting past that first initial hump. And the vehicle to get up and over the hump is meeting ourselves, of course, like I said. And I will present you with a multitude of health hacks and all tried and true methods for sure, but the foundation must be securely in place to build and maintain the structure that you want. So, yes, a repetitive again, because it is the key to sticking with what works for us when we're learning. So, these suggestions I present with you today and other shows are the gems, and the connection inward is the carrier, so to speak. We carry ourselves. Okay, so now that I have that well established, I know I do, I can feel it, probably over established. Um, I have to keep with that, right? It is the compassionate piece of my holistic practice, so it's always included that self-love. So let's now just get back to the basics when it comes to nutrition. And it seems there's a lack of simplicity when it comes to suggestions that are floating around out there. Which is what we need, is simplicity. We certainly don't need anything more complex in these lives of ours for sure. So I like to keep it simple. It's a more compassionate approach. So the client does not get overwhelmed, and that's not why I'm here at all. And I think you have that established by now. We are trying to calm down here. So I will present you with the bottom line when it comes to healthy intake. And I will preface here, for transparency's sake only, that I am vegetarian. However, that obviously does not affect my advice or my practice. I will not be biased. It's just not me. Besides, it wouldn't be holistic of me at all to do that. So, when it comes to food, I have decided to present the best choices by dividing things into like a group type kind of situation, kind of like a food guide, but for sure a reliable one for optimal health, I will say. First, broadly though, I must quickly mention that we must consider the pesticides and these like non-body loving sprays that are used, including and right up until the grocery store shelf sometimes. I don't know, well, a lot of people would have seen these sprays that are coming from above, these chemical shiners, that are coming from above on the produce. It all looks so lovely at a glance, like it's due on a perfectly selected commercial grade produce, right? And that's at a glance, of course, to keep us safe from these harms. I'll tell you, when we think big business, we should always think that they are driven by less overhead and more profit. It has nothing to do, unfortunately, with individual health, and does not consider population wellness at all in its bottom line. And you want me to digress on that one again, and I will do so. So let's start off our categories here with the first, we'll mention bread. And there are now meta analysis occurring demonstrating quite clearly that when it comes to the consumption of bread, Over here in the West, compared to other countries, reactions to it are very, very different. In that individuals who have severe difficulty consuming things like pasta and bread over here are coming up symptomless eating the same foods in places like Italy and Spain and other European areas. Definitely only one way to slice that cake, and that is the ingredients and farming practices are very different. And you can tell which one from what I said earlier, right? And these extra non body required ingredients are revealed on the tiny description on the label. And then some of the things listed are so broad, it's a guessing or nothing, like artificial flavors or enriched. That one is the number one to stay away from for sure when it comes to bread. Enriching nothing but pockets for mass production. So while we're over here believing we are purchasing bread like we have historically eaten, these unpronounceable words are being added to labels and not loudly announced for all to hear, all the while human health is unfortunately suffering. So, my suggestion here is first and foremost, if you are able and realistically have the time to make your bread from scratch. And hey, I'm compassionately aware of life and its demands, but just if you have time, if you could make that work, that would be the top of the totem pole for healthy, for best. So, using non enriched, non GMO, non pesticide flour, and reading to determine any other not needed ingredients, and also substituting your sweetener to honey, maple syrup, maple sugar, or guava is a good move with tons of benefit as well if you're making it. And so, if you do not realistically have that time to do it, well, next best is to get yourself sprouted grain or sourdough with the least ingredients as it is intended for these bodies. And with pasta, the same thing goes. Check to see what it is souped up with and get the simplest every time is best. Things that have contents that our organic body can recognize and process is how we remain in health. These products that they're calling bread these days are responsible for so much inflammation that's floating around in our human community. And if you ask me, it's got to stop. Things like heart disease, kidney disease, all of these are skyrocketing, and all because of these little additions we could certainly do without. Okay, so that's the bottom line on bread. Let's talk about produce. Everyone has their favorite categories. This one's mine, so I'm pretty particular, probably maybe connoisseur status when it comes to choosing the healthiest and safest produce to consume. And trust is a big, big factor here because although something may claim organic and clean, mass producing for money trumps compassion, unfortunately, like I said, for human life. It's seen over and over again. People complaining because they discover that the company was later bending rules, or we have these outbreaks, and then something is recalled, and lo and behold, some people have already ingested it. So I am going to make my own rules from learning sources that I revealed reputable via like literature searches, searches for real world data, as I do for all of my health related information that I give out. And I just won't back anything otherwise. And in the end, I learned that the most trusted source is the best thing we can do for ourselves and our health when it comes to, well, that question, what should we do? That is should be the main focus. This is the hill I'll die on when it comes to consumption because the chemical pesticide sprays to keep the food from being attractive to bugs and therefore falsely good for us to take in, I will say, like hormone disrupting agents. They're driving menopause, cancers, Like there's antibiotics in the meat, right, that are causing things like MRSA, which is resistance to treatment. And of course, none of this gets advertised for obvious reasons. We are having to use the top shelf antibiotics, I will tell you as a nurse, more and more frequently these days, and this is in addition to those ingested through the meat, unfortunately. Again, it is a perfect storm. So when it comes to our produce, we used to actually rely on this thing called the jacket rule, which means if it had an outer covering like an orange and its peel, the treatment was said to not penetrate through that. But now, unfortunately, either the strength of the mist has gotten stronger, or we have purposely placed outer coat and or purposely placed these outer coatings for some fabricated costs, I guess, of financial gain and humanity's loss. Which is seems to be the going kind of theme these days when it does come to our food. That's why we have to be the wardens. So, what are we to do? Well, like I said, we should know the source of our food. If at all possible, the closer you can get to mom and pop from the local farm, the better you can rest your mind. And even a step further, I will tell you, is to choose a certified organic farm. It does make quite a difference, just that one choice alone. Just if you think about it, chemical storm stuff for that beautiful body you have been gifted, or purposeful nourishment that loves your body. Which one sounds better? It's and I will say this here, it's because it's a self-love activity. If it is wished to be adopted long term and consistently, it has to be I love me situation to actually, seek out these places and to kind of stick with it. Because sometimes it's just easier, right? And more convenient to hit the grocery store. Life is super busy. But when you view yourself, like I said, as worth more than settling for convenience, the effort will show up. I promise you. You love your body, it loves you back tenfold, and it will perform tenfold. And also, when it comes back, when we're getting back to produce here, look for seeds. Veg and fruit have seeds, the God made ones at least. Anything else is human created and not conducive to your health and wellness. And that's a full stop for me when it comes to seeds. I mean, the ideal situation, in my opinion, is to grow our own, but with various dwellings, like different types of housing and those types of things. And of course, today's agricultural status, well, that may not be possible for everybody. So, Farmer Jack, guys, is the next best thing for us. Okay, so let's move on to the section of meat. And there are ways to also consume better meat, of course, running along the same lines as everything else that we've discussed so far. And it's organic again, and it's knowing your source situation because, as I mentioned, these repetitive antibiotic treatments administered to these animals end up inside the human. And of course, then that sets off a whole host of human body fireworks. Some of the environments in which these creatures live, like chickens, for example, are already icky, infested with feces and other bodily fluids. And of course, I'm nothing if not honest because I'm compassionate and I hold integrity in my practice. I would never fabricate. It's only a means to an unsuccessful end to do that. So I'm just hoping that my concern is not coming across as crass, as like harsh or anything. At being a vegetarian, I mean, I am an open book and I am just fine with all of it, all types of different diets. It's an individual kind of a choice, so I respect that, right? So I want to give everybody an opportunity to eat healthier. I have zero ill intentions for this world. It has enough of its own. So, it's just a gentle and a humble buyer beware suggestion. Just remember your health is the most expensive thing of all. So, when it comes to choosing your meat, think local once again and think grass fed, organic, because that is another factor to consider is what does the feed of the animal contain? It's not something you're going to read on the package, that's for sure. So just be wary. And with the debate on red meat, from what I have experienced as a nurse and from what I've researched, it's a moderation approach that works best. And most pork, though, is not derived from safe and clean environments, though. So something to keep in mind when it comes to pork, because there's been many studies to determine its ill effects on our body. And you're not going to get that agreed to by industry, right? And I'm going to just insert this here as well. Is this food category, sorry, where this debate usually stems from in terms of industry and the red meat aspect of it, is the other good debate is the great protein debate, right? And I can tell you, I have looked into this multiple times, coming out with the same result. And that is that you can absolutely obtain adequate protein from plants. And that's just information for those of you who may be considering eating less. I don't know. You do you, boo. It's all good, just due to what I've just talked about when it comes to the meat industry, if you think you would like to just check that out. So that's for you. And because again, I come from a space of non-judgment every time. I am the provider of information, and I say take it with you. Take what you like and leave the rest behind. That is how I roll always and will always be. Because of course I would want the same for me. Okay, so next let's get into dairy. And we do have an epidemic of the not real taking over this sector as well. The cheese, especially, and claiming, even so, like you probably didn't anticipate you'd hear these words in this section, but here they are, because I kind of put some of these things under the one umbrella. Plant-based. Plant-based, if that's what the claim is, it's not healthy. Trust me. When you turn those products around and read, that will become quite obvious, besides what's not mentioned. And in an effort to profit from the quote unquote healthy drive that we do see ramping up, like claiming these plant-based products, well, I will call them not food-like products. That's what I'll call them. Butters and cheeses that are more chemical than anything that would be recognizable by the human body. So stay far away from those things. In fact, it's all about reading. Just read ingredients, additives, because those are the things that are unfortunately driving this sickness epidemic that we find ourselves in, along, of course, with other involvement. They don't give us much of a fighting chance towards health, unfortunately. And when it comes to dairy, excuse me, in particular, the inflammation resulting is off the charts. It never used to be that way years ago, but of course, the processing piece, of course, has escalated, right? And it's morphed. It's like it's changed so much, like anything else. In fact, the dairy consumption is causing gut inflammation, conditions such as colitis and IBS. And again, not shouting from the roof. This is not shouted from the rooftops, but it is verifiable through reputable studies. I can speak from my personal experience and tell you that I experienced no more bloating, no more digestive issues, and more energy reserve since I did switch the milk aspect of it. So with milk, I use almond or oat, and for cheese and butter, I just choose the real and bona fide thing, the untouched thing, from the local market and organic real butter as well. Those are my choices because those are what our ancestors ate, right? That's my whole mantra. I always go back to what did we used to do before we got ourselves in this sickness state. And I will say that margarine's terrible, right? A lot of people already know that. There's nothing that I can say to dress it up. It's just, it's and likewise processed cheese. Our bodies have no clue how to even start with these things. So it doesn't, and it just decides to give up over time and enter illness chronicity. So it turns out that these products that we were informed were safe for us to consume, not so much. In fact, quite the opposite. And as I like to say, a wise and all-knowing creator, right? No matter what you call that, the creator of this earth, I don't think that they would construct a place where the dwellers would be without. It would I think that this creator would make sure that all necessity was present, meaning nothing lacking. So I think, again, a return to this kind of wisdom is where we need to get in order to get to our baseline, the way we were meant to be, the way we were meant to feel while we are here, and heal back to Earth's bounty, right? So next we are going to talk about hydration. Let's add that into the mix now. And as you can see, this stuff that I am presenting to you when it comes to nutrition, guys, is simple. It's not elaborated, overwhelming, or anything like that, because that is not my belief. That is not my belief onto how we're going to get back to where we need to get back to when it comes to health. We need to get back to simple and back to the basics in order to realize true healing. Okay, so let's talk hydration. True hydration, that is. And what do I mean by that? Well, it turns out that most of us are not taking in our water effectively, and fluid overload has become a real problem. So, first, let me just ask you a question. If you were needing to be transported to hospital or you were dehydrated and you had to attend the hospital, for a fluid infusion, just say, what are you given? Do you know what you're given in that bag that hangs on the pole there? Well, is it water? Um, no. It is saline, which is salted water. And this is because when you take in water alone, it does not penetrate down to the cellular level where it needs to be. It ends up in the extracellular space, and then we end up with what we call swelling. We may then attribute this swelling to another cause, and then we're just continuing to consume the undressed water, right? So the answer is for sure to either place a few crystals of Celtic salt on your tongue prior to consuming an 8-ounce glass of water, or you can add it to the glass. And this is effective way to hydrate because this salt is the very assistant to bring the water into the cell. It can't get in there without it. And I choose Celtic salt because it is indeed the best. Coming in, guys, with 92 essential minerals and having double the magnesium power, which we are all deficient in. So please consider that. And people have made the switch and noticed quite a difference overall in their BP. However, as always, please check with your doctor. If you are on any pharmaceuticals, they can interfere with the natural bodily processes when treated or when we intake these things, especially the filtration ability of the kidney. You see all of these things too manifest in UTIs in a lot of cases, or It's due to the inability for filtration, like I said, but tired kidneys from not those cells not getting what they need. And there's two other things that I put in my water once a day. That is clove, best consumed in warm water at night for your immunity, and lemon, that's your liver detoxifier. So that's very important for protection of this body you have. And in just aside from those for hydration, what I would advise is just avoiding the most sugary beverages. Juice, of course, can also have just as much content as sodas, especially stay away from diet soda, being shown to contribute to certain cancers now. And anything really, guys, proclaiming diet or less sugar should be avoided completely due to the replacement of that sugar with chemically laden substances. These little buggers are the opposite of body loving. So, what about our morning beverage then, aside from those drinks? You know, your delicious cup of coffee. Well, I'm not going to say get rid of it, thankfully, right? But pay attention to what you're buying because there is real coffee bean and then there is another processed product that is harmful. And for sure, the common grocery brands are just that. So look for certified organic bean with nothing added or taken away. Coffee can be actually beneficial in the decreasing of inflammation, and it has also been shown to protect us neurologically. Now, so that all being said, I will say this about coffee: frequency counts because it is an energy boost, right? That's what it provides your body. And this body is not meant to be inundated though with energy fluctuations multiple times a day. I'll say if you're going to drink it and you want the best case scenario, it is best to have that 1 cup in the morning after your salted lemon water, of course. And then that would be it for the day. Now, don't jump on that. I'm a person, like I said, to go slow is to have an effective outcome. So you would wean down to that if that is your goal. I'll say that as well. It's because this is not punishment. I do have a delicious alternative for you when it comes to a nice warm beverage, and that is real chocolatey, so yummy cacao powder. I'm telling you guys, since I made this switch, I sound like I'm on a commercial now, but since I made the switch, excuse me, around 2 and some odd years ago, from the coffee to this, my energy has stayed and remained at base level. So, no more dips and trips, ups and downs, just up in the morning and then energetically balance, and then able to move on with the day, like with the day, rather than fighting against it. And I posted this on my Facebook page about this actual powerhouse and what it offers. As you can see, I'm a huge fan. So, what does it offer? Well, brain health, cognitive function, heart health, antioxidant for sure, mood enhancer, and the most powerful benefit, it increases the production of stem cells. And these little guys are the transformers of our inner environment. And what do I mean by that? That they can develop into a very wide array of specific cells in our body, such as nerve cells and muscle types of cells. So they are important to say the least. And what an easy way, right, to support that amazing function in our bodies. So I do a heaping teaspoon in boiled water with some pure maple syrup or honey and some almond or oat milk, whatever you prefer. And I had discussed this briefly, of course, in the sleep episode about the cacao, and it is in the show notes. But I did really believe that it definitely deserved another mention when it does come to nutrition, as evidenced by what I just told you about its benefits. So check it out. And of course, just like anything else, when it comes to transition, you will prefer it over coffee once you have embedded the habit some. The good old neuroplasticity I talk about, we should use that ability to our advantage because we are so good at habit forming, that is for sure. Okay, let's talk about the kicker. The kicker that I have left for last. Um, okay, let's get into it. Every single person has a different experience when it comes to the consumption of what I am about to speak about. And again, today, I bring with me my vulnerability because I do believe there is just a little too much fake in this world when we talk about health, almost like there's an authority over us sometimes. And so I would like to express to you that I am on the real team and I am completely and 100% in touch with my vulnerability. And that, of course, is how I was able to heal. Healing, because we never are truly healed until the absolute end of it all. So, anyway, I digress on that. I am talking here about alcohol. Um, I just want to hopefully demonstrate a non judgmental front here. I will tell you my story um, because in the holistic world, we view each individual as having a story, and it is very true. That is why the compassionate is a piece of me, the compassionate holistic, the compassionate piece is my practice, and it is me. And I'm happy to finally be in a place in my life where I can express as me and do that for the rest of my life. So, with no further ado, let's get into it. And again, the purpose here is to maybe find a person or two that might need to hear it. So, here we go. So, I grew up until my early teens in a weekend binge alcohol household, say. My parents, not bad people. I will definitely say that. They were just people trying to find their way in life. And I will say, again, that comes from a more healed mind space of mine, a ton of self work. Anyway, I won't go too deep into that piece, just a brief mention. So, in retrospect, when I was self analyzing, I viewed alcohol as the way to debrief from life back then. I guess it was unintentional advice, I will say for sure, from people who had no idea that such demonstration could have far reaching effects. So, unbeknownst to them at the time, I went on and adopted this habit as an escape as I continued to be my own worst enemy as time went on, pretty much just mindlessly going through the motions of life. And I did think it was harmless, but I felt like I was in a cyclic rut after a long time with no evolution of my path. That kind of hit me, no growth, and zero motivation to even begin to change anything. So, after a lot of that and a lot of years of that, what I've been taught on how to kind of refuge from things that I didn't want to face, well, just one day, it got to a point when something clicked, and after years of approaching life that way, something in my mind hungover that day nonetheless said to me, girl, enough is enough, and it's time to put it down. And I didn't know that that was my last time, but what occurred after that was nothing less than powerful. Um, this is definitely vulnerability, guys, on another level for me. But that too has come from the after effects of my decision that I made to stop it. So weeks passed, and I started to feel very low after I had stopped turning towards this. And I began to have thoughts of the past and everything that I had been through. I'll just describe it as a storm of thoughts, one that threw me up in the air big time. I went through a lot of soul searching or meeting myself, I guess, as I've termed it, and the truth of me just began to emerge over the coming years after that. I mentally was going through these mistruths that were bestowed upon me, I will say, and the traumatic experiences that I now do realize were a place to wake me up to my authentic worth. So I had figured out that these weekend escapes, I guess, were just that. It was a numbing of what needed to be faced head on. Just in order to clear a path for me to come home to who I truly was. It was an answer for me. And of course, you are well aware, if you've been with me for a little while, that I am a person centered provider. So we are all very unique, right? And I reveal this piece of me in case it does resonate with even one person. I always say that if I can help one person, that's enough and it's helpful. So I also do it as a practice because I have let go of self blame. This is a practice for me that I don't expect, and I don't kind of go fishing or want to draw people in. I've let go of self blame or self judgment. That's what meeting and loving yourself does. Outside judgment becomes silent. So I'm okay with putting that information out there at this stage in the game, and I would highly recommend it if you're not feeling so much like that. It is a very freeing place to be. And when it comes to alcohol, it is a concern mentally and spiritually if it is intended as an escape from your inner world for sure, guys. As I've described, it can become ritualistic and then physically harming as well, as more and more studies have been releasing recently for sure. They're showing that brain changes with moderate consumption is a thing. And in the end, obviously, you hold all the marbles. It is about you evaluating your own situation when it comes to this and everything else that you choose for you and yourself. And because I'm not going to suggest any certain amount of type of alcohol or frequency or safe consumption or anything like that. I'm not here to do that. As a professional nurse, nothing good seems to come from doing that because, like I said, we are self healers. So I'm not basing my overview on personal experience alone either. I do consider what I have seen in clients. I've done also quite a bit of research in this area and continue to do so. It is interesting what it does to humans. I even think about that for myself, right? It's sometimes it just seems we lose ourselves, and like I said, very literally for me, that is why I refrain completely because it adds nothing to my life. Yet it definitely takes away that which is important and which contributes to my authenticity. So just to quickly recap, on alcohol. When it comes to nourishment and holistically, well, the effect is triple fold because it does cause mind withdrawal, spirit depression, and widespread negative brain and body effects. And again, I'm simply the provider of the information. In the end, you get to choose to either pick it up or put it down. Or you can choose to try some or all of my advice. You are the only creator of your unique journey, guys, but I'm also here to tell you that you are much more capable than the world may have convinced you of. In fact, everyone who attempts a goal and sees it through has a certain feeling of disbelief. I've observed it in others, and I have observed it in myself many times. Disbelief that we even accomplish that and saying, like, wow, I can't believe I did that. Well, that's everybody. If everybody's if everybody knew their capability, everybody would definitely be holistically healthy, and I will stand on that for sure. Till next time.